Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark.
And I'm Zoe.
And we are the Board Adventurers. We're back to you today for another Late to the Game, but this is a more special one. We're looking to start a new kind of mini-series within our Late to the Games where we focus on a specific theme for that month, whether it's a publisher, whether it's a designer, whether it's a mechanic, and this is going to be one that's kind of like more related to us since like we really like these types of games. Our first month is going to be Stonemaier month. We're going to review as many of the Stonemaier games that we have on our in our collections, and we're going to try to give you an overview and what we think about it, and if you guys should go out and maybe look at some of them to play or at least buy. And we're going to start off with probably one of our favorite ones to play, and we're going to start off with Scythe. Scythe is a 2, which you actually play Automa. All of the Stonemaier games can play Automa. It's a 1 to 6 player game, and it's hard to really describe what Scythe is because it's kind of like a combination of worker placement, worker movement, resource management, kind of goal-oriented type of games. So in terms of gameplay, you're going to start off by taking one of these two. You're going to take two of these little boards. So one's going to be your faction mat, and one's going to be your player mat. And these are the main things that you're going to look at on your turn. So your player mat is going to give you a certain set of actions up top. So for a couple things is, so there's a resource. So whenever you are on a space with one of your workers, you get to produce resources based on that location. Then you can trade. You could pay a coin. You can get 2 of any one resource. You can also bolster. So bolster is a way of getting either hearts or power. And power is used for battle, and hearts are used for popularity. And popularity is more of an endgame trigger. And then you can also do a move action. Whenever you place your pawn on any of these, on your next turn, you have to place that on another space. You can't take the same action continuously unless you have one of the certain factions. Sorry. So each faction has their own thing too, where they're going to have these, again, these aren't really matching to the color, but these 4 locations will be covered with a specific mech. And you'll unlock these 4 locations as you go from your player board's bottom action. So whenever you take a top action, you can choose to take the bottom action as well if you have the possibility of doing that. And those bottom actions vary as well. So of the things you can do is you can upgrade, meaning you can take one of the cubes from your bottom row here and move it into an empty space up top. You can create a mech, meaning that you can take one of these mechs and then place them on the board. Then you can also build a building, which will give you a certain benefit based on where it is on the board and an end game condition. And then finally, you can enlist. So that lets you take one of these 4 little pieces that you're going to place in this bottom left corner on your faction mat, and that lets you place it on your enlist on your board, which will give you another benefit off of that. Sorry. I meant that the opposite way. So you're taking it off of your player board and then playing it onto your faction mat, and you're getting that bonus there. This game is very complicated if you haven't noticed already. But you even add battles into this game. You add interaction between players. You add 3 types of miniatures in this game. So you have your worker meeples, which give you resources when you do your production action. You have your mech, which will let you carry your workers over water. So water is a little piece in this game. You need to be able to cross based on your mech or your faction if you have that ability. And then your faction has their own special piece too. And this, in a combination of everything, will lead to the end of the game. So you might be asking, how do you end this game? That's a good question. So at the top left of this big Scythe board, there is going to be a little area where you can place stars. whenever any player has placed stars on six of those locations by achieving different things, like you have all 4 mechs out on the field, you have all 4 buildings built, you've enlisted all 4 times, you put all 8 workers out, you've won a battle. There's a whole bunch of ways for you to place stars in this game in combination, and whoever places that will create an end round condition. So you'll finish off the round, and then based on your popularity on the far left of the board, where you get placed is like that popularity, that heart number. You'll get that amount of coins based on certain end game conditions. So you'll have, I believe it's every 2 spaces you control. For every star that you have, you'll get a certain amount of money. For every 2 spaces you control, you get a certain amount of money. And then for every 2 coins that you have, so for every 2 resources, sorry, that's my bad. Every 2 resources you have, you'll get a certain amount of coins based on a scale.
Gotcha.
At the end of the game, whoever has the most money will win the game. And so I apologize if that's a very vague way of describing Scythe, but there's a lot of almost like crossing lines of how to do certain actions, because they really depend based on your faction, based on your player board, and based on kind of like how you trigger endgame. With that being said, what do you think about Scythe?
Yeah, so Scythe is one of those rare games in which everything that it's trying to accomplish and trying to do really, really works for me. It's down to the theme, the mechs itself. I'm not a miniatures guy at all, but I love the mechs. I love the idea that you're trying to build out mechs and put them on the board.
Right.
I love the variable end game kind of conditions in which there are a plethora of ways that you can end the game, way to get stars in it, so we're not all battling for the same specific thing. We're all trying to do individual goals in order to try to end the game. And some of that is just by virtue of just playing the game, you kind of get there as well. And I just kind of love how restrictive but open as well that the game is.
Right.
Like when I remember first time playing the game, it feels at the beginning that you really can't do much.
Right, because you're kind of stuck on your small little 3-piece section, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Because that water will cut off your section from the central board. So you kind of have to figure out a way of crossing over into that area. And there's certain characters that do it easier than others. But
it feels really restrictive, but kind of open at the same time. And I don't know how to explain that, but as soon as, like, once you, not even before, you get out of the water area, but it feels like you could do so many things.
Right.
But also, you don't have much to do. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it kind of gives a cool feeling.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of asymmetry, I really like the way that these faction mats kind of give you your own specific ability. Each faction has their own special ability, too, that's up here on your top right of your faction mat.
Yeah.
And they do kind of, wildly different things. I believe one of them lets you spam the same action if you wanted to constantly. So if everyone else has to move their piece to do a different action. This one is, if I want to move multiple times, I can do so, and I could keep doing that.
Yeah, and I love the way it does asymmetry in this game. Sometimes in games, the asymmetry is not different enough, and then sometimes it's too different that it feels like one character can be broken.
Right.
This one does it. It's kind of the perfect middle, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're breaking the game, but it's different enough that it feels so unique that I'm doing something no one else can really do, and it's benefiting me. Yeah. So
and also because you're whenever you see this game, it kind of feels like you're about to enter a war zone.
Yeah.
But it gives you that idea that there's going to be a lot of battles, but you don't have to battle when you're in this game.
No.
It's not. It's a way to get one of the end conditions, like a star. But you don't have to battle. If anything, it's actually bad for you to enter a battle with somebody.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like about just the end game conditions in this game is what you brought up just now in terms of the battle. And it's if you don't like a specific aspect of the game, and I like kind of everything about it, but if you don't like a specific aspect of a game, you could just avoid it.
Right.
You can avoid battling if
Yeah.
you don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah, and
I
like,
do like that.
we're talking just base game here. We haven't played any of the expansion factions or even like the Rise of Fenris expansion, but I have heard that Rise of Fenris lets you almost create your own victory condition or like end game conditions based on these pieces that you can add onto there.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know. We would have to check it out, but that'd be something we would want to look into because I think our group is less battly and more resource heavy management.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the battle does add some tension because you don't know if someone's just gonna come in. If you're occupying the factory and someone wants to come in to get the factory card, they'll willingly push in into you and then create a battle.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're down one objective star because you've lost that battle.
Yeah.
So there is there's some high tension in this game. And then you even have like these little battle cards. Whenever you go to battle, you actually have one of these little discs here that let you add up to 7 of your power, and that's where power comes in too. So your hearts are for your popularity, right?
Yeah.
And that's how much the people enjoy having you in their territories. But then when you have the power, like you can risk up to 7 in terms of power on the lower right hand of your track of the board. And then that whenever you get to the maximum amount of power, I think it's 16, you actually get another star. But you need power for you to go into battle with. So you're kind of like you're running into that conundrum of when you're in a battle, do I risk my 7 power to win this battle? But I'm at 13. I need 3 more. I can get to 16 power if I just lose this battle. But do I want to give that up?
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot of great options to play with in your head, and it's great.
It gives you a lot of options in terms of how you want to play, into how you want to set yourself up to get stars in this game.
Yeah.
And brought up a good example in terms of utilizing your power. Do you want to use it for the battle, or you want to get to 16 and get that star? As this is kind of it was kind of a clever little option it gives you in the game.
Mm-hmm. I really like the way the figurines look. Like this guy over
yeah.
here with like the big like bison. Like I love playing this guy because he can go through like lake spaces. And I just love like seeing like imagining his like little bison getting submerged underwater, and then like just him moving along.
Yeah.
But in terms of theme, like it's okay. I will say though that I was much more into Scythe earlier on, maybe before the pandemic. I've cooled a little bit, but only because we haven't played it as much as we have.
Yeah, it's a little harder to get to the table for us.
And our group light tends lighter nowadays.
Easier to learn.
Yeah, and this game will take maybe like if we play with 5, it'll be like maybe a 3-hour game. We would have to play this with like a 3 or 4.
Yeah, good point. I agree in terms of like when you first brought this out, it was before the pandemic. This was probably like one of the best games I played at that time. It was just harder to play it that often because we played generally lighter games, as well as it's a longer game, so it just kind of didn't work out. But things in theme, I kind of liked the mechs, the steampunky mechs in World War II. I really enjoy that, and the fact that it's kind of a war game but doesn't feel like a war game.
Yeah,
so that part of it I really enjoy as well.
Yeah, it's definitely unique from what I've seen in like what you see out today, because it seems like a lot of games, even like now, like post Scythe time, they still kind of lean into space and battles, and either nature or like animals. This kind of like stands out still in terms of like what its theme is about. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think for a place, pass, or buy? So
in terms of a play, buy, or skip altogether, this for me is a buy with the caveat, the understanding this is going to be a heavier game. It can be a longer game in terms of player count, but it's definitely worth the learn and the investment. In terms of time and money as well. Yeah. Okay. It's just a straight up buy for me. It's kind of one of my favorite games.
Yeah, you really do like this game.
Yeah, this game is great. Yeah.
For me, I think just because I've cooled on Scythe over the years, I'd put this in just a play.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely leaning towards buy.
Gotcha.
This is definitely one of those games where you're going to get intimidated when you first see the game.
Yeah. 100%.
You'll see it and you'll think, why would I ever play this game? This is like one of these like GMT type of games, possibly. But definitely try it out. I especially recommend you get someone that has already played the game, because they'll be able to set it up for you. They'll be able to kind of like guide you in terms of your faction board and what to do, and then kind of like say like, hey, look at these actions that your faction lets you do when you have the mech. You might want to get a mech out early, because then that'll unlock things that you can do. Because once you get onto that main board, your game is going to open up like large. And we didn't even talk about the mines, which lets you move around the board as quickly. We haven't talked about encounters yet, which give you, certain, resources as the game progresses. We haven't talked about objective cards. If you get an objective card, you get 1 star at the end of the game. There's just so much in this game that we haven't even described yet, but it's just a lot of crunchy decisions, and they all kind of, to me, combine really, really well. It's just that I've cooled a little bit on it, but I still enjoy this game.
Cool. So that's our late to the game review of Scythe. We'll see you on the next adventure.